All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Credential Podcast. My name is Ryan. It's just going to be me today. It's just a solo show. I'll call it more of an emergency podcast because I really didn't imagine I wanted to do it, but I do want to do it. So after watching the Texas team beating TCU for the regular season, and I feel like I have a lot to say about this Texas team. They've been so exciting to watch. And this is one of my favorite years to watch this Texas team. So today, I just wanted to recap a little bit about their season so far. Obviously, we know that their regular season has ended, and they did end up with a win over TCU 5-2 in Austin. It was on Longhorn Network. I'm gonna talk a little about Longhorn Network in a little bit, but we did ended up getting a win out of TCU. So, we got 2 wins out of TCU, 1 win at TCU, and 1 win in Austin. It was a huge performance by this Texas team. Last time when we talk about this Texas team, we are recapping the ITA tournament, and as we talk a little bit about what to expect for the rest of the season and what Texas could do, to get to the national championship as every single team wants it, right? So, as I've seen this team develop and progress, I just have a lot to say about this Texas team. I think my overall message is this Texas team is going to win the national championship. Okay, so here are a couple of reasons, right? Last time we talked about 3 different things. One of them is team efforts, and second one, you got a strong leader in Eliot Spizirri, and then you got a third thing is that Texas need to strengthen their doubles and find your 6. Okay, I wanted to talk a little about the same theme, but Texas doing something even better. Okay, so let's talk about the team efforts, right? After losing to TCU, Texas is not dropping any matches, right? So they had a couple wins over those ranked teams, right? They played Texas A&M, they played Stanford, NC State, TCU, USC. They're ranked top 25. Look at where Stanford is today. They're a great team. Look at NC State, one of those matches that Texas has to get over down that 6th position by Armilli, and Texas was able to lock a win in Austin. That was so impressive. I think that's the win where Texas needed, that they really find that, we're able to do it. Because remember the year that Texas gets to the Final Four? I don't remember the record, but they were pretty much like 10-1 in 4-3 matches. I don't care. It's just, the players forfeited for the last, we already win, and then we just don't care for 4-3. Or it really came down to the last court, right? Who is standing on the court, who is playing there, and we really need to win. We really need to win so we can get out of the match. So I think in terms of team efforts, this Texas team is a complete team. Because when I was watching Bruce Burke talking in front of the media, obviously I wasn't invited, but I think this Texas team has an internal drive. They have an internal motivation, and they're ready to put in the work to win. And that's the only thing that this team knows, right? They lost to a tough one at Ohio State, right? Which is expected. Nobody can even really challenge the Ohio State team in Columbus. And they drop a very tough one to TCU while playing 3 days in a row at, pretty much going to sleep at 1 a.m. They have to come around on a Monday. They start at 12 p.m. I'm not going to blame this Texas team too much for those 2 losses, okay? But it's always about how you bounce back. Micah Braswell has been that number 3 single spot for a little bit. And after that, he missed a couple matches. But look at this Texas team. They have really good depth, right? They're still winning without Braswell in singles and in doubles, right? You have Evan McDonald really step up in a single side, but also he really locked the spot with Chi Huang on the 3 double spot. And they're not losing, okay? for Texas, for Braswell, after missing around 2 to 3 weeks, right? So the last matches he played, well, before the break, he lost to Jack Pennington Jones. And then after 2 weeks, he came back, he beat Finn Boss, and he beat Luke Fomba in 3 sets. I think this is the Micah Braswell that Texas wanted to see for a long time. And it was funny that last year, because of Eliot's injury, he was playing 1 and 2, and he's been killing some people. And this year, they put him at 3. Obviously, got challenged and by JPJ, Jack Pennington Jones, get challenged by Styler. But he also, now that he's playing with some injuries, right? He's something going on with his foot, which I don't exactly know what it is, but he's been playing hurt. If you have a Micah Braswell that can play at the level that winning the 25K in Austin, Texas will be in really good hands with Braswell playing the 3 position. Okay, so I don't think he's gonna drop to anyone except maybe Jack Pennington Jones, and we don't know where they're gonna be playing. Right, in comes to the NCAA tournament, you don't know if he's gonna be at 2, he's gonna be at 1, he's gonna be at 3, top 3 at least, right, for JPJ and TCU. But for Micah Braswell having this kind of performance, but another thing that, people really need to know is they did not need Braswell in doubles. I think this is one of the things that overlooked a little bit, because if you look at the matches that Texas has played, so their doubles match, they don't really have like very easy wins, right? Not a lot of them are going to be like 6-2 win at the 3 doubles position. It's usually going to come to the tiebreak. Come to like either 6-5 or 7-5, or you come to the actual tiebreak, right? So I think the fact that Texas was able to substitute in McDonald and really did not need Braswell in that position, that was a huge one for Texas, because that way Braswell can focus on his singles a little more, and he got a little bit better time to prepare, right? To prepare for his game, to really look at how his opponent playing the doubles point, and then he can study and learn from it and say, hey, when the time hits, he's ready to go. And I think Michael Braswell was a player who get into the game really quick. He's not like, hey, I'll probably lose a couple games and I'll come back. And he's the guy that can just really dive in and try to break your serve in the first game, right? So I think this is a really big strength of Texas, is having the depth. So that really goes to my team efforts. When you talk about this Texas team, it's their depth, right? You have, I told you guys, Evan McDonald was able to play some singles at 6, and Texas find their 6 in Nevin Armilli, right? And Texas still got those players at the top of the lineup. It's Eliot Spizirri, P.Y. Bailey, Braswell, Sim Waldy, Harper. Those 5, I don't know how they can lose 2 or 3 singles. I just don't know, right? And then you have one of the best 6, Armilli. How would he lose? Just tell me about who he would be losing to. Give me some options. I do not know. Okay? So I just feel like this Texas team has so much depth, and they've been playing at a very high level. And I think a lot of teams really cannot reach them. So let's look at Evan McDonald, right? He played a couple matches. He played against Bradley Fry. He lost to him 3-4, but he came back to play against Oklahoma State. He gets you a win 6-4, 7-6 over Aliso Baselli. And then he gets you a win at Texas Tech in a 3-set super tiebreaker. He beat Dimitri Azoides. And also look at his doubles, right? He get caught. He didn't really have a lot of experience before USC. But what did this guy do? He playing with Chi-Chi, knocked off Ryan Colby, Stefan Dosnich, playing mainly in that 3 position. He and Chi-Chi knocked off Garcia and Pini from Oklahoma State. And then they're unfinished against Oklahoma, unfinished against TCU, and they're playing the former number 3 or 4, Louis Maxson and Senator Joan. Well, they're 16 now. And they were down by a break in that Texas TCU match, and they were able to come back and just keep the game in, right? So I think Texas probably find themselves a doubles pairing in McDonald and Chi. So that three position, I don't really see them changing in the tournament or in NCAA unless something happens to those two guys. And I think Texas really found themselves better with Braswell focusing on singles. It's not like Braswell is bad in doubles. It's just the fact that when Braswell is focused on singles and also he's playing hurt, you just want him to take on one thing that he's doing really well at, which is singles, right? If you see Braswell's pro record, you don't really see him doing a lot of doubles, right? He's not the guy, hey, I can do both and want to do both. He's just, hey, I'm focused on singles. Obviously, single brings more money. Singles brings more experience and reputation. That's probably where he wanted to start his career on. So I think having Braswell only on singles, that's only going to help Texas. But the reason that Texas was able to do it, because they have McDonald, they have Tulori, really get ready to go if his number is called, right? He and Chi playing, I mean, not necessarily too bad in the opening of the season, but last year when they were playing in those Big 12 tournament, when they're playing towards the end of the season, they were really good. Right? That was a huge surprise for Texas in finding Tulori for that three doubles position. So if there's anything going on with McDonald or with Chi, they still have that depth in Tulori, and Texas has options. Okay? Texas has options. So this is one thing. This is kind of one sector I wanted to talk about. Just the team efforts. The Texas playing completely as a team. You can see how excited they are cheering for each other and winning every single point. And if they lose, everybody's so disappointed, right? Even though some of the individuals may win or someone play a better match, they're as disappointed as a team. When they win, they're celebrating as a team, right? So I think this is Texas team. It's really, really glued together. And I've seen them playing in Stanford. I've seen them playing in Chicago. And I've watched some of the matches from the TV and to see just how those guys bound together. And I don't really see any other teams bound together like Texas. Okay. So we can see TCU is a great team, obviously Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia. I just feel like this Texas team is a level up. All right. Not only as a fan, but also just based on my experience of watching tennis, of really going there for college tennis events, I feel like this Texas team really bounded, right? That's where I really believe that the team that will win, that would really love each other, they really want each other to be great, and they wanted to win. Okay, right. So that will wrap up my first section about the team efforts. And then the second section I want to talk about is Eliot Spizirri. This guy only dropped 1 matches to the NC State guy, and I don't even know his name, right? So this is a season I think Eliot is going to remember for his rest of the life, just with his performance on the court. He's not losing. Okay, so the formula of this Texas team is really similar to last year's Texas women's team. So you have Peyton Stearns at 1, right? And then you try to get the doubles. You're 2-0 leading. Okay, I'm not going to bet against Eliot at any time. I think he's the guy going to give you that point every single match, unless there's something going on with him physically. But I think he's physically, mentally so tough. I don't think anyone else would outlast him, except the fact that if he is just not fitting it. But I think every time I had doubts in Eliot Spizirri, he says, no, I'm going to take it, right? I mean, for example, for yesterday's game, for Texas against TCU, he was down in the first break. He got broke in the first one, and then he bounced back, got broke again, and he just dropped the first set. And on the second set, he was up 5-2, but really couldn't close it out. And, Jake Fernie pushed him to the tiebreak. And I was like, if Eliot's going to win this super tiebreak, he's going to win this whole thing, right? And he did. With all the home crowds, with him just having the will to go to distance And also he just has the mindset. It's like, I'm not losing to this guy. I mean, I could put him 3-set. I wanted to give my team the point. I wanted to win. And I think that drive, I'm not saying Jake Fernie is not as a good player as Eliot Spizirri, but he just has a little bit more that than his opponent. And I think it happens every single college matches he plays, right? He's playing against those guys. Ethan Quinn, right? He's playing against those guys. Stefan Dostanic. And he's playing all the good players. Justin Boulay. He's playing Arthur Ferry. I think Eliot Spizirri is taking the most advantage of it by really playing the top of the lineup and facing great players and literally the best player of all teams in the Big 12 in the nation. And he's sweeping them, giving wins. I think this guy should go pro after this season. But I think, given a team player he is, I think if Texas wins, he's going pro. If Texas wins the whole tournament, NCAA, he's leaving. But I think if Texas is not winning, even if we reach to the championship game and we lose, he's staying for another year. And he could stay for another 2 years if he wants to, right? But I think the sky's the limit. I think for him, having that movement, that forehand, and his backhand is probably still his development area, but just having that diversity of slicing and going heavy, going flat on the backhand, I think he has really diversified his game, and his serve is getting significantly better. He's just physically much stronger, mentally much tougher than he was a couple years ago. And I don't know if that's more credit to Bruce Burke and his staff or his personal coach at home. I know he has a lot of support from everyone, but this is a guy, I think he can get to that top 50 level for ATP. And I don't think he's physically talented as Ben Shelton, but I think with his hard work, with his footwork, with his drive to win, and I think he's a top 50 ATP player in the next couple of years, right? He could be that Steve Johnson. He could be that, that Sam Querrey. I just feel like he's going to be a very steady American player in the tour. Like at least I can, stay there for a couple of years. I mean, if he did not see the amount of success that he wanted to, he may consider even playing doubles. His doubles is great. I mean, he's won the U.S. Open Junior Championship. I think Eliot playing in college, he just needed to develop his mental game, right? And I think it will be interesting to see who or how the singles for the NCAA singles will play out, considering he's the number 1 seed, and he could be the number 1 seed, and he's playing against the best of the best. And maybe there are a lot of players he has beaten before, or there are players played 2 and 3 in the lineup. Can Eliot get challenged, right? Can he be pushed to the limits, especially just physically, right? If you're thinking about, if you make all the way to the national championship game, you're playing the 1 singles, you're probably playing, I don't know, like, let's say maximum, it's like, nice set of singles, and you play 3 set of doubles, and then you came back, rest another day, and then you still play another match. I think that's a lot. But I think he's physically very developed, and he can really do that, right? So, and I think that's the leadership I was talking about. Another really interesting story is, I saw Eliot last year in the Hall of Fame Open in Newport, Rhode Island. He was actually driving all the way from Connecticut to see Richard Ciamara. They're really good friends. They have developed a very strong relationship. Ciamara came to Chicago to support the Texas team. And just the fact that he was able to bond very well with his teammates, I think this is sometimes a lot of great players don't have, right? And for him being the best player on the tennis team, on this Texas team, and still having that great relationship with his teammates, coaches, community, I mean, this is something very special, right? Thinking about you're doing something so good, and people, always want to look up to you. But sometimes people's mindset get changed, right? They may feel, too good, or they just have very strong, some people are a little arrogant, some people really don't care about so many different things. But I think he's very focused in his game, but also his leadership has just been phenomenal for this Texas team. You can see that, he's leading by example. He doesn't really sort of cheer too much, whenever he's playing. But I think he's just a guy that brings so much energy. And whenever he wins, this Texas team just gonna feed off his energy and feed off his game. And everybody in the lineup, they're just gonna go out there and play. Not only for the team, but it's also for Spizirri, right? Who's battling with the injuries for the last couple of years and has really found himself a better player right now. I think this is his best version of Spizirri. And I think you're only gonna see him getting better. Okay, so the last section, or the last point I wanted to make, because last time we were talking about Texas really need to strengthen the doubles and find your six, right? And I think Texas is doing that. Texas, at least, they find their six. Their six is Nevin Armilli, right? When it comes to NCAA tournament, you're not going to see Chi Huang playing there. You're not going to see McDonald playing there. You're not going to see Tolari. You're going to see Armilli. All right. I don't care. This is an insight. This is a hint. This is whatever. But you probably won't see other people than Armilli playing six, right? Unless Texas just wanted to rotate their players, unless something going on with injuries or whatever. But Texas get one of the best six in Nevin Armilli, right? He's a guy just really went under the radar for the last couple years. And he's a guy that he was in a national championship run in 2019. He was still the guy with a little dyed yellow hair. And him and Cleve Harper were the two guys that has not played in the national championship game, but they're still here. But for another guy, Chi, he played in the doubles, right? And then he's, just working with the team all year long, and they got to the national championship. But for Harper and Armilli, they did get the crown, but they did not necessarily contribute on the matches. But I think this is a year those two guys are going to have that feeling to see, hey, I'm contributing. And indeed, he is, right? So the only matches he lost after losing to Michigan and Wilcoxy was against Texas Tech, and he was playing that 5 position, right? He's just playing pretty well for Texas when he's needed. I think the one word I wanted to say him is he's so clutch. He is so clutch, right? He shows up when he needed. I think the biggest example was National Indoor versus Ohio State, and he beat Andrew Lashonik 6-1, 6-4. And when he's needed again, he was playing NC State and just going to that deciding set tiebreak, and he was down 3-5, and he knocks off Fong Samik. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he was able to clinch it for Texas. And recently, or yesterday, he beat Pedro Vivas in the 3-set matches in Austin with Big 12 championship on the line. And I just feel like this is a player that's just so clutch, right? This is a player you have to trust in the national championship game. If you can make it there, put him in 6, and he could give you that first point. That's just an example that helped me to remember a guy. His name is Rodrigo Benzer, played for Texas in a national championship year 2019. He went 6-0 in the NCAA tournament that helped Texas to win a national championship. One thing in college tennis, one point I wanted to make was that you needed to win, and you need to win fast, right? I think this is really challenging for a lot of college players. Like, hey, if I don't start well, if I drop the first set, that's more challenge, it's more pressure to you than playing a professional tournament, because it's just you, right? But when you play for a team, you drop the first set, you see some of the other teammates dropping the first set, you see some other players just holding serves. That's just a lot of pressure on you, because you wanted to win, and you wanted to win fast. You want to tell your team, hey, I got your back, right? I think this is what Armilli has been doing for Texas. He got a second point, right? For Texas in singles after Cleve Harper win, and when he was playing Thomas Jurczak at TCU, I remember it was a second point, but the first point of singles. So he finished. He's a guy that can help you to win, and he's winning fast. Okay, so I think Texas got themselves a 6 in Nevin Armilli, and his movement and his backhand and his approach shot has just been phenomenal. Okay, so Texas got themselves a 6, but what really concerned me is still the doubles point. And we know that the margin is super small, but I think my concerning point, I mean, for Texas, not like, for example, we're not making a national championship, we're not even making to the Final Four, is the fact that Texas may drop the doubles point and they're going to have a bad start, right, in singles. So I think the fact that Texas was able to grab, 3 or 4 first set against TCU in Austin, that really shows that how resilient this team is, right? They dropped the doubles point, but immediately they play much better in singles. They hold them to a tie position. Hey, we probably need your best player, Eliot Spizirri, to come back for that 3-set thriller. Whenever they're doing this, it's so much easier for them to come back and win than, hey, let's play the singles, but hey, we're actually dropping 4 first set. So I think the biggest challenge for Texas is if they lose the doubles point and they have a slow start in their singles, I'm just not really trusting this Texas team to come back. I think that's the only thing that I am thinking that would concern me. If we're not really necessarily making that far. So if some of the I don't think Florida is gonna make to the final site, to be honest. I don't think any Florida team is gonna make it to the final site. But let's say a Georgia team, right? If you face Georgia in the Final Four, and those Georgia fans got really rowdy, you see how many fans there are in their home court. If they somehow steal a doubles point, and then somehow Ethan Quinn get a set out of Eliot Spizirri, and then maybe they're 4 or 5, or I don't know, if they got a first set out of Texas, I think that's the challenge I wanted to see Texas can address. Right? Obviously, you don't want to see it happen. Obviously, you don't want to, you don't want to see that happening. But I think the Texas lost 2 matches this season. They lost the 2 matches because they lost the doubles point. Whenever they lost the doubles point in those 2 losses, they dropped the whole thing. Right? These are the 2 things that I'm really concerned. And obviously, the TCU thing, they dropped the first 5 set, and then the Ohio State, nobody's winning anything. So I think if that moment's come back to Texas, because I wanted to see that happen in Big 12 championship matches. That was going to happen this weekend, right? I want to see that happening. I want to see Texas facing that challenge. Can they come back, right? Can they have that, mentality? Can they really bounce back from some challenging doubles and some tough first sets? And can you really come back? It needed a couple guys to come back and win, right? And I think this is what I wanted to see in this Big 12 championship matches, and even all the way to NC2A. Remember that NC2 is a 3-week, it's a 3-week thing. You're still learning, you're still developing, you're still getting better during the tournament. And I think that's a development area of time when Texas really needs to think that way. I mean, Texas is a national championship winning team. Bruce Byrd is a national champion winning coach. And I'm trusting him, right, to put this team in the right position to win. And Chi-Chi, Armilli, Cleve Harper, these are the 3 guys who won national championship before. They know what it takes. Evan McDonald was there watching this team to win. So if you think about this team doesn't know how to win, that's definitely very misleading. They do know how to win, and they have the personnel, they have the people to do it. It's just gonna take them a little bit more patience. It's going to take them another month, right, to really get there, to really get to the game, and then just try to show what they're capable of. They make to the Final Four 2021. They lost to a super talented home-based Florida team. But this is the same team. This is the same team that Texas had in 2021, and we're not really having that Florida talent this year, right? TCU is talented, but Texas beat them twice. Ohio State is talented, but I don't think they have figured out how to play in Orlando yet. And I'm just not trusting this Ohio State team to make it that far. So, given that, I'm still saying that this is the Texas team that can go out there and win a national championship in Orlando. And from a talent's perspective, I think Eliot Spizirri with physically, if he's good, if he's able to recover day after day, he can win the national championship in men's singles. Okay, so this is my prediction. I think Texas is the best team as far as right now in the country. They're hot, right? They beat TCU twice after the loss in national indoor, and Texas is gonna play them again next weekend. And we'd love to see a different lineup for Texas, but I don't think Texas is going to change. TCU probably going to change again, putting Louis Maxett at 6 and switching up their 1, 2, 3. And I really don't care. I think this Texas team does not care. And they know they got themselves a team. They got themselves good doubles pairing, good singles pairing. And they know what to do. And they know how to win. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is Longhorn Network. I was so pissed when I was watching the streaming. Well, let's not talking about the ESPN Plus Longhorn Network thing, right? I just feel like this is a very bad production team that really doesn't know anything about tennis, right? So I think all they know or all they've been showing was court 1, whatever singles or doubles. And I think there could be different technical difficulties or there could be different, reasons to it. But college tennis, with how fun it is, it's about those deuce points, about those break points, about those holding points, right? Like if you hold it, that's a game, right? And I don't really see those showing up in live streaming. And if there's a deuce point, I cannot even see for the rest of the court. And the only thing they're showing was if that's a match point, if that's the only thing. His match point is done. But what happened there, right? There's so many, I wouldn't say meaningless point, but not that important points on the court 1 that you could replace that with some of those deuce point, break points. Just replace that with some of the other matches. I think for 4 was a great match. It was Sandra Jones and CM Waldeep. And how many minutes those two guys get in this whole live streaming? I think less than 5 minutes. That's a 4-hour live streaming. And what about Armelia? That 6 match goes to the 3rd set. And I probably see another 5 minutes. And I feel like this is getting a little discriminated because I know, well, we understand that the number 1 singles is probably the best to watch in terms of quality and the quality of the players. But with this kind of team quality, with Texas and TCU on the line, every single match could be a 1 at any other school, right? If I put CM Waldeep to the SMU team, he's playing 1 every single day, right? If nothing else if nothing interfere with the tennis itself, right? In terms of talent, he's playing 1 for SMU. If he's playing 1 for Oklahoma State, he's playing 1 for Oklahoma, right? If you think about just the level of tennis and how close each guy is, I don't really see why they're only focusing on just 1 court. And why not you just call it it's not Texas TCU, it's Eliot Spizirri versus Jake Fernley. So I'm just very upset with how the production team goes. And it was also interesting that commentators do not know what they're doing, right? They pronounce the player's name wrong. And, court 2 is supposed to be court 2. They put it on court 3 scores, all that kind of thing. It's just so unprofessional. And if you can't really do it, you probably just let someone else do it, right? I think Crack Rack has done a great job showing those tennis streams. They know what they're doing. But for Longhorn Network, you having that amount of money and resources, you can't even find yourself a good tennis commentator. I think that's really insane. That's really absurd. right? It's PYB, it's not Bailey, right? I mean, these guys speak better English than I do, right? But you got to be better at that job. Okay. So I'm definitely not very happy with with the production. And I think this could be a lot better. On the other side, whenever there's a TV live streaming, there's no play site. So let's say I wanted to watch Eliot Spizirri and Cleve Harper at the same time. I don't have access to it. And, the team, the LHN team, did not provide any data on the screen at all, on the TV at all. I can only go check up the score and then say, hey, this is a deuce point. And we also know that those live streaming, they're a couple of seconds behind. So sometimes I can see the score on my website, but but the last point was still in play from the TV. And I was like, wait, this point is already over? What am I supposed to watch? Okay. So definitely, I think for college in itself, it deserves more attention, deserves more publicity. But with this low quality of production, and also you have the brand of Longhorn Network, I just feel very ashamed, right? If some of the random guys for even that Texas team come back and watch this, they're gonna be, hey, I'm breaking him on this. Why you're not showing my point? And they're on a new game and 0-0, and Cleve Harper probably facing a break point, or he got a strong hold on a deuce point. Why am I not showing my clip? So I think there are a lot of questions to be asked, and I know that Longhorn Network has been doing this for a little bit. Even when I was in school, they're live streaming the matches. They're doing they're doing their stuff, but I still don't feel like they have really figured out. And they probably it's a non-revenue generating sport, and I can understand that from a budget and resources perspective, they don't have that. But if you're doing this, you got to be better, okay? Or you just say, hey, I'll just let PlaySide handle it. We don't really care. We don't want to spend the resources. Just go spend the money on football or whatever, right? I know the contract says in tennis matches, obviously, but just get better, all right? Just get better. I think softball, baseball, those production are a lot better than tennis. And obviously, there are more matches, there are more people and personnel support it. But there's just no way that the top two teams in the country got this recognition, got this production quality on a national televised TV. This is the United States of America, okay? They got to be better. All right, so that's my rant. But also, I don't want to rant for too long. I know you guys have been listening. I don't think a lot of people will hang on to this point. But if you are, I appreciate you. And, I'm just really happy just to offer my thoughts and ideas about this Texas team, what I've seen from the last 2 months after their experience at the ITA in Chicago. And I just feel like this is a Texas team. It's going to make so much noise in the NCAA tournament, and I can't wait to see them in Orlando. I can't wait to see this Texas team lifting the trophy. And the last thing I want to say is hug 'em horns. See you guys on the next one. Bye.
I'm sitting here in the boring room. It's just another rainy Sunday afternoon. I'm wasting my time, I got nothing to do. I'm hanging around, I'm waiting